Hi, welcome to another episode of Cemeteries Down Under. This will be our final one for Rookwood, and we've got a few stories to share with you, and we'll take a look around at some of the vaults and some of the graves as well. Hope you enjoyed the Rookwood series. It's a lovely rainy soggy day, so we're showing you what we can because we're filming in and out of the rain at the moment. You can see we're kind of drenched looking for graves. So yeah, after this we'll show you a lot more exciting cemeteries around Sydney, but this was our final one for Rookwood. We hope you enjoy. Catch you soon, guys. This is one of the sad stories of Rookwood. It's a brother's tragic pact. Two brothers from Lidcombe, Sydney, apparently entered into a tragic pact. One a 26-year-old due to an ongoing disability following a road accident, and the other a 28-year-old due to family relationship problems. They drove a car to a quiet park and gassed themselves with exhaust gases, and they're buried here in the Anglican section of Rookwood Cemetery in 1952. You will see on their tombstones it says, "My dear sons," and they're buried there with surrounding their family and their mother next to them in the following grave. Peter Dodds McCormick was born in Glasgow 28th of January 1833. He was an Australian schoolteacher and a songwriter. So he was born to a seaman and initially had an apprenticeship as a joiner before he emigrated to Australia. Then when he came to Australia, he worked as a joiner for a while, then became heavily involved in the Presbyterian Scottish Church. After that, he became a school teacher and worked at many schools. He was a talented composer, and he published around 30 patriotic and Scottish songs, some which became very popular. And his most popular works is Advance Australia Fair. It was first performed in public by Andrew Fairfax on the St Andrew's Day concert of the Highland Society on the 30th of November 1878. Advance Australia Fair became quite a popular patriotic song. The Sydney Morning Herald described the music as bold and stirring, and the words decidedly patriotic. It was likely to become a popular favourite, and today it still is used as our national Australian anthem. So Peter McCormick died in 1916, aged 83, at his home Clydebank in the Sydney suburb of Waverley, and he was buried in the Methodist section in Rookwood Cemetery. He had no children. He was survived by his second wife Emma. His obituary in the Sydney Morning Herald stated, "Mr. McCormick established a reputation with the patriotic song Advance Australian Fair, which has come to be recognised as something in the nature of an Australian national anthem." William Arnott, the man who brought us the Tim Tam, Jat's crackers and the milk arrowroot. Think of him today as you enjoy one of his creations with your afternoon tea. The story of Australia's favourite biscuits begins a long time ago and a long way away, when a little boy named William Arnott is born in Scotland. After completing an apprenticeship as a baker and confectioner, William and his brother David board the ship Sir Edward Parry, bound for Australia's shores. So with the gold rush of the early 1850s, William is lured to the fields by the promise of fortune. Little did he know he wouldn't strike gold until he went back to his passion of baking breads and pies. In 1865, armed with little more than a knack for baking, William opens his first factory in Newcastle, and it isn't long before the Arnott's name becomes synonymous with a different type of golden nugget, delicious, sweet and plain biscuits. On returning from a visit to his native Scotland, William is gifted a colourful macaw parrot by a ship's captain, a fated fowl that would become the face of Arnott's biscuits for more than 150 years and still counting. So in 1894, William Arnott and his wife Margaret moved to Sydney, and he died at the age of 73 on the 22nd of July 1901, and he's buried in the Methodist section in Rookwood. He had 12 children with his wife Margaret. So here's the family vault of Alexander Smale, in memory of Fanny Jane Smale, daughter of the above, died the 7th of January 1920, age 60. Also Charles George Davison, son of William and Isabella Davidson, died the 28th of May 1904. Also William George Davidson, beloved husband of Isabella, died the 1st of June 1922 in his 58th year. There's some beautiful vaults and really magnificent tombstones here. You know, a lot of them have churches and steeples on the top. It's just absolutely gorgeous, and we're in the independent section in Rookwood. So while we're looking for tombs and crypts, we come across this sad little grave with a really tragic story. William and Elsie King. William was the original caretaker at Rookwood, and they both lived in the grounds in the cemetery. Now, in the middle of the night in 1898, two men broke into the house and shot them both several times, William dying immediately, Elsie a few weeks later. One of the men was Martin Cusack, an ex-employee, and the dispute was over payroll. The other one was called Butler, who stood trial for murder afterwards, but Cusack committed suicide and was found in Parramatta later with the gun in his hand, and ironically he's only buried 100 metres from their grave. So they were Scottish. William Manson, born at something, Scotland, 26th of March 1830. Died in Sydney, 23rd of December, 1883, I think it says. It's very hard to read the lettering. So William Munro, and he lies here with his wife Caroline, was a well-known architect in his time, and he died in 1881. And he designed the St Andrew's College at Sydney University and numerous churches and other buildings throughout New South Wales. I really love his tomb with the steeple on the top of it, and it's obviously a replica of one of his favourite churches. Sir George Wigram Allen, born the 16th of May 1824, and he died the 23rd of July 1885, was an Australian politician. He was a Speaker in the New South Wales Legislative Assembly, 1875 to 1883. So Timothy Marr was a merchant and furniture manufacturer who ran Moore's Labour Bazaar in Pitt Street, Sydney during the 1850s and 60s. It was the largest general furnishing store in any of the Australian colonies at that time. Perhaps the most outstanding monument at Rookwood Cemetery is the gigantic Celtic cross erected over this vault. At the intersection of the arms of the cross there is carved the symbol of the Holy Ghost descending in the form of the dove. On each arm of the cross it is carved a symbol of one of the evangelists. An angel's head representing St Matthew, a winged lion St Mark, a bull St Luke, and eagle St John. The remaining portions contain beautiful interlacing of ribbons and animals, snakes and dogs with top knots and intertwining together in the most fantastic manner. This grand monument indicated the morality and respectability of the work and thrift that made it possible. These ideas developed from what has been termed by historians as the Victorian work ethic, while the Celtic cross was often used by the Irish Catholic element in Australian society. Marr's elaborate representation was again the affirmation of a successful man. So here lies the grave of William Vile in the old Methodist section in Rookwood, who saved the life of Alfred, Duke of Edinburgh, during an assassination attempt on the Duke of Edinburgh by the Irish dissident Henry O'Farrell in Clontarf, Sydney, on the 12th of March 1868. In a violent struggle during which the Duke was shot, Vile managed to wrestle the gun away from O'Farrell, and two bystanders assisted Vile. A Grand Master of a Masonic Lodge had organised the picnic in honour of the Duke's visit. Queen Victoria personally thanked Vile for saving the life of her son. So here's David Jones. Anyone that shops in Australia would know the store David Jones.
Right into David Jones and make your day a very special day. 'Cause there's no other store like David Jones.
So he lies here with his family. Died in March 29th, 1873, aged 80. And his stone says, "Let no proud stone be sculptured, virtues rise, to mark the spot wherein a sinner lies, or if some beast must deck the sinner's grave, beast of his love who died, lost man to save." The above epitaph erected by himself. And also his wife is buried there, aged 71. She died in April 22nd, 1873. So David Jones was born in Wales in 1793 and arrived in Sydney in 1835 with his wife Jane and 4 children. He was an experienced store manager and set out to establish a general retail business based on the principles of the London's firms which he had worked. On the 24th of May 1838, David Jones & Co. opened in premises on the corner of George and Barrack Streets in Sydney. Mr. Jones' mission was to sell the best and the most exclusive goods and to carry stock that embraces the everyday wants of mankind at large. The store flourished and in 2020 had 43 outlets in Australia and New Zealand and is the longest continuously operating department store in the world, still trading under the original name. In addition to his business ventures, he was generous in his philanthropy, and served as a deacon in the Pitt Street Congregational Church for 35 years. He also served as an alderman in the first Sydney City Council from 1842 to 1844 and was a member of the New South Wales Legislative Council from 1856 to 1860. David Jones and his wife had a further 7 children. He died in 1873 at the age of 80 and was survived by his wife and 7 of his children. Jane died 3 weeks later at the age of 71 and is also buried here. So his monument dates to 1865 and was originally erected at the Devonshire Street Cemetery, which is now the Central Station in Sydney. So a lot of them were exhumed and buried here and in other cemeteries. And in 1901, when Devonshire Street Cemetery closed for the construction of the Central Railway Station, it was moved to Rookwood. Hi, this concludes our search of Rookwood Cemetery and the stories. We didn't cover many people, only just a chosen few in the 4 series that we had. There's many more stories. If you live in Sydney or if you're ever visiting Sydney, I suggest you come down here. It could take you weeks to find people. We've spent days here searching for graves, even though we've had maps and everything. It's very much like looking for a needle in a haystack. This place is so big. It has its own postcode. And there's many different sections. So I hope you enjoyed this series, and we'll catch you soon.
See you soon, guys, and don't forget, like and subscribe, guys, and have a great day.